Hey YouTube, it's April 8th, it's a Thursday, and my name is Anthony. I'm coming to you from Cookville, Tennessee, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the iPad that was released earlier this week. I want to go over what some of the specs, what you will not get with this machine, and go over some of the prices. And basically we're comparing this to netbooks in general. Most of the netbooks on the market today are running from $250 to the $400 range. $400 being the really good ones, $250 being kind of a baseline netbook. And you're going to see real quick where you don't want to spend your money. Other than if you are just a flat out Apple fan freak, then you're going to buy this no matter what, I would say, or anybody would. But for those of you who out there are really considering justifying the expense versus the specs and the practicality of this machine, this is for you. First off, it has a 9.7-inch LED multi-touch screen on the iPad. It's a multi-touch screen, obviously. It weighs about 1.5 pounds. It's a half-inch thick, or thin, however you want to call it. It does about everything that iTunes will do. Obviously plays movies, music, your iBooks, any applications you need in iTunes, the iPad will do it. Just like, guess what else? The iPod Touch, which is about $200, $300 for a good one. So it's not going to be mind-blowing experience on here. You can do maps on it. Obviously, it's going to do YouTube. That's nothing to really market because any computer out there does YouTube. They make a big deal out of this, though. The thing with this is it has a very limited hard drive. So you might want to consider more of the renting of movies as opposed to buying, because it will eat your hard drive when you start buying these. And the hard drive, the biggest one you can get is a 64 gigabyte. That is the biggest. They come in 16, 32, and 64 gigabyte sizes. The baselines for these things, they go 500, 600, and 700. And then if you add the 3G network, add about another $150 to the unit to cover the add-on to have the 3G card into it. And don't forget that that 3G network is going to cost you extra per month via AT&T. There's about 150,000 apps available for this unit at this time. There's been a little over 240,000 of these sold as of one report that I read on the internet. It looks like a big iPhone or iPod Touch. I'm sure anybody looking at this has probably observed that. It's just bigger. And any previously owned iPod Touch or iPhone apps will work on the iPad. Just think much bigger. Just think this is an extension of your iPod Touch, if you will. Less portable, though. You will get about 9-hour battery life out of this unit with Wi-Fi on, which is probably what you're going to use. If you don't have the Wi-Fi on, you're going to get about 10 hours out of this if you're just doing an ebook or something like that, or just using your iTunes that being on the web. You will get about 10 hours out of that without Wi-Fi. The hard drives are 16 gig, 32 gig, and a 64 gig, and price relative to their size. The 16 starts at $499. It goes to $629. A 32 gigabyte will run you anywhere from $600 to $730. And a 64 gig will run anywhere from $700 to $830. And then that's all. The $630 to the $830 price does the difference between the two numbers I read to you is based on having just Wi-Fi or having Wi-Fi plus the 3G network. You can also view these details on Apple.com. Alright, what inputs and outputs do I have on this iPad? Well, if you're looking for a lot of inputs or outputs for that matter, you're going to be extremely disappointed. It does have a headphone and microphone jack and a way to charge it, and that's about all you get. There is no USB ports, none at all. There is no SD cards on here. There is no HDMI hookup. There is no VGA. If you want to do all those things, you got to buy extra accessories, which, as we all know, they're not going to be cheap because the only person that makes it is Apple, so you'll pay their premium for this. You can get some accessories like the keyboard dock and some accessories make it where you can hook an SD card up to it in your digital cameras. And they also sell an iPad case, exclusive by Apple. Of course, the price of these, I'm not sure. You've not looked, but I'm sure it's not going to be really, really cheap. That's going to be an added fee to have those on top of the price of the iPad. Now, the resolution of the screen is 1024 by 768. Nothing spectacular. That standard resolution has been around since forever. It's just a standard. But it is a higher resolution than traditional netbook. That's the only curve that I've seen played in Apple's favor on this, was their resolution was a little higher than the standard netbook. However, in the $400 range now, you can get netbooks with that same resolution. So, and it's a lot cheaper. It comes with a 1 gigahertz processor, which is not that blazing. Some of the cell phones that are coming out, the Verizon Nexus, the T-Mobile version of the Nexus phone all have 1 gigahertz processors in them already. So basically, you've got the processing power in your iPad that you're paying quite a bit of money for that's sitting in a little bitty cell phone. I think they could have done a little better with that, but they didn't. That's what they did. It does do anything standard that iTunes will do as far as audio playback and all that. Again, don't think you're going to burn those CDs because there's no ports to even hook up an optical drive. So you're not going to burn it. So basically, you're going to be viewing and listening to all your stuff on the iPad, unless you go buy a lot of accessories, which would deter away from its mobility. It would look kind of weird if you had this device and this device and this device and this device to hook up this little bitty thing. You might as well buy a full functioning computer if that's your intentions. It's got a 10-watt USB power adapter. It's not that immaculate. I wasn't really impressed with the machine, and I am traditionally appalled and very excited about Apple product releases. The iPod Touch was an innovation. The iPod alone was an innovation. But however, I think they're starting to slack a little. They're giving us lower performance machines at higher cost, which is not the way the market needs to go. The long as we're going to spend their money, that to them is acceptable. Now, how does this compete to a traditional netbook in price spectrum? You can buy an Acer netbook for about $200 to $250, depending on which retailer you go to. That's new. If you go in a little bit higher end ones, they run about $400. So from $250 to say $400, you can get a PC netbook any day, and they will all have USB ports. They will all either have a VGA port or an HDMI port, which the iPad offers none of these things. And obviously they have a headphone port and a microphone port, just like the iPad does, and they have bigger screens. Most of them have a 10-inch screen is the norm now. So you're not going to lose nothing on the screen side. They're going to be touch screen, but you're going to have a full-size real keyboard you can actually play with. And you can hook stuff up to it. You can hook your digital camera into a standard netbook and save a lot of money. So it's up to you if you're an Apple person who just buys anything Apple because it's got Apple's logo on it. There's a lot of you out there, and that's fine. No matter what I was to say, you would want it. No matter what anyone would tell you, you would buy it because you're an Apple freak. And that's fine. I like Apples too, but I'm being practical here. If it has very low functionality, do I really want to spend money on that? I can spend less money and get more function. Yes, PC is more prone to viruses. That's about the only giveaway that PC has on an Apple, is that we are more prone to viruses, and that's really simple fix. You go spend $40 for a year of antivirus, and you put that $40 of investment on 3 machines, and you're covered. Keep your virus updates up to date once a month. It's not that hard. I've never had no problems. I've been a PC user since Windows ME, and as long as you do your backups, you have to do backups on any of Macs or PCs. Keep your antivirus definitions up to date, and you're good. I really hate to see people going to spend all this money on this and then get it and go, God, I can't get a digital camera. Oh, I'd like to print that email. Oh, well, you can't print it unless you can buy all these accessories. And it's going to look weird. You got this deemed so portable device, and then on your desk you've got all these accessories hooked up to it to make it work. That's why this machine is so thin, people. It has no usage, no practicality to it. And it's very expensive. I mean, the low end is $500, and the high end was $699. And then now if you add the 3G network to it, that costs you even more on purchase price plus the monthly fees. The AT&T data network for any of these is going to be about $360 a year. So it's something to really consider. I mean, it's a lot of money. You know, in 2 years of using the data network alone, you just bought you another iPad, or whatever it is that you want to spend $600 on. So it's something to consider, and I hope everybody puts a lot of thought in this. We're going to just go buy this product as it just come out. The only reason, in my opinion, that Apple even come out with this device is because everybody's pounding Steve. Hey, you know, everybody else got netbooks. Why aren't you doing it? You're the only one not doing it. He had to do something. He had the integration with the iPhones and iPod Touches out there, so I think he decided to use that so he could give him some more market share. And it will work. Some people will buy this. However, people go ahead and play around with a traditional PC version of a netbook and see if you aren't happier, and see which one will do more for you before you go spend the money. Because people, once you spend that money, it's gone. Just be wise about it. I know this video will probably tick a lot of you off, but this is just the truth. There's a reason it's so thin. And the reason its price point is so high because it's an Apple. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions about this video or any that we ever do, hit me up at cnacoons at